Just the two of us, and Mrs. Livingston down here again.
Perfect.
No matter what it's for.
Well, we're not talking about anything new, really. We're just talking about a continuation of what we discussed the last time we were together.
Yep.
Okay. So you know the concern that Mrs. Harris raised.
Yep.
I know that you sent a little message to one of your friends regarding your thoughts about that message, because I ended up getting a gaggle alert. So that's
What is a gaggle?
It's a warning that we get if something originated from either somebody's Google Docs or their Gmail. So if it's linked to the school account and then there's any type of language in it that might suggest fear of a threat, self-harm, swearing, mention of drugs or alcohol, basically like all the things that a school would want to screen for and do a warning. If they saw that it existed in the school, then they do a warning. And then they send it actually to all the administrators. So Mrs. Foster, building principal, Mr. Barth, associate, me, associate, we all get the same warnings then from this gaggle thing. And gaggle is just simply the name of what this what is it called? Human monitoring system. That's just what it's named. Okay? Now this message did not scare me, but the message came directly from you because it was linked to your account. So today I found out that Miss Harris, or Megan Harris, had wrongly accused me of threatening to kill her when I never did. She made this absurd, and then it stopped there. That was the end of the message that I got the gaggle. So with that being said, do you remember who you sent that to?
I actually didn't send it to anyone. I just made a blank document and I put it as a title of Teacher and Student Reports.
Okay.
Basically, it's my own little
way
of keeping
track.
Note-taking on people who accuse me of stuff that never happened or who have reported lies about me or rumors that don't exist.
Okay. Well, I'll go to the next part then, because I mean, your time to me, Zelda, is very valuable, so I'm not going to waste any of it. I interviewed 6 students.
6? Miss Livingston told me 3.
I interviewed 6. I called into the office 6. And after I had interviewed the first 3, I determined that I didn't need to hear the exact same information from the 3 that were remaining. So called 6, interviewed 3. What did they say? Do you know what they said? Because you said that Mrs. Livingston said that I got feedback from 3 students. So apparently she was telling you things.
She wouldn't tell me who they were. She wouldn't tell me the names of them, and she wouldn't tell me what they said.
Okay, well, I'll tell you exactly what they said. I could never report for you, though, their names, because...
Well, I want their names.
Huh?
I want their names.
Okay.
Whether it's against your policy or not, I want their names.
Well, it's not policy, that's the law. I could get fired for that. So I would never provide for you something that could get me fired. I would never do that. Eyewitness testimony that is given confidentially is never revealed, because that would get the person who revealed it fired. So being that my job is a little bit more important to me than satisfying your desire to know who they are, I would never give you those names. You could just simply think of it happened in class on Tuesday. The first thing that was said after Mrs. Harris was talking about safety, Zelda made some comment about the fact that people could accidentally be harmed by a bow and arrow. So it wasn't anything directly to like Mrs. Harris being threatened or a statement about her. That was the first thing that was said.
Yeah, and that wasn't directed towards her in any way. Therefore, that student wasn't against anything. Therefore, that wasn't me threatening her. Therefore, that's strike 1 of her of proving that she was lying.
Zelda went on to say, if you get in my way, like the person would be between the Zelda shooting and the target. If you get in my way, I'm going to shoot you.
Never said that.
Okay. Said by 3 separate people talking with me separately. And the thing that they said was said last, that was the thing that they really thought was most extreme, was that your statement was very much like, I can't wait to shoot you.
Never said that either.
Right, but only said the first one about the accident. And then it was said that Zelda, one-sided, loud enough so that many of the people in the class could hear it, kept talking about it, about archery, and about, if you get in my way, I'm going to shoot you, or I can't wait to shoot you. And it was reported that Zelda said that, and it was one-sided. That meant that Mrs. Harris didn't really see anything back. Other than, it was reported by Mrs. Harris that she said back at the end of the class period that stuff that had been said in class kind of made her feel either uncomfortable, or she was a little bit taken aback by it. And Zelda informed Mrs. Harris at that point after class that she, Zelda, has no filter. That's how you speak. When she said, that stuff concerned me, Zelda, what you were talking about with the bow and arrow, then your answer back to her was, I have no filter.
I didn't say I have no filter, and I didn't say any of that.
Okay. Well, you know that I will never believe that, because I know that separate people interviewed separately that had no idea what they were going to be interviewed about, who told the same story, would never do that. They would never do that, because it would be impossible to make up the same series of lies. The only way they could say those same things separate from one another is if it were true and they had heard it. So that's the only way that it would ever happen.
But do they have evidence? Do they have audio? Do they have audio proof that I actually said it?
I have no interest in whether they have audio.
Because if they don't have audio
in a court of law, you do not need audio proof. You only need eyewitness testimony. And now we're talking about a court of law. And lucky for you, you won't be taken to a court of law for this, because I still believe that you are not a threat to Mrs. Harris. If I did, then we'd be completing a threat assessment, and then this could possibly go to a court of law.
Like what happened last year, where someone randomly filled out a threat report about me, even though I'm not?
That I don't know about, but I'm not concerned about it right now. Something that was filled out last year on you, I'm not concerned about at all. So then I had a very good conversation with your mother. And she suggested to me, and I was suggesting back to her, that what we were going to need to do only during the archery unit is have you have some kind of alternative activities or assignments to do, as opposed to archery. So Mrs. Harris has agreed to that and thought that it was the only thing that makes sense, is that during the archery unit, you would have alternative activities and assignments. And as soon as the archery unit is done, you'd be returned to the regular class. So whatever is determined as alternative activities and assignments, they have to be active somehow. She could have originally suggested something to me, Zelda, like, what if I just had Zelda write a bunch of research reports? And I would say, no, I can't have Zelda do that, because that is not at all like her physical education class. It has to maintain some level of activity and assignments that are based on activities. And then she agreed, and then we said, so that's what we're going to do during the archery unit. And you are welcome back in class. And there aren't days that you now have to stay out of it. or get suspended from it, but I just have to have you be very, very mindful of what you say and what you say out loud. Because there was one specific assignment that was going to start your return to PE that would come from me that I'm going to share with you as a Google Doc. And the only other people I'll share it as a Google Doc with are your mother and Lou, Mrs. Livingston. Okay? So I will share that assignment. You take your Chromebook home over the weekend, don't you? Usually?
I usually take it home, but I usually don't look at it during the weekend because I'm at my dad's house.
Okay. So do you ever check for assignments over the weekend or no?
I do that when I'm in resource.
Is that right now?
No.
Oh.
That's during 4th and 5th period.
Who do you have 7th period?
Miss Harris.
Okay. So Mrs. Harris. Okay, here. Do you have your Chromebook with you right now? Just down the other space?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well just stay right here with me. And I'm going to... So you'd only be with me for another about 15 minutes before 8th period. So I want to make sure that you get that assignment before the end of 7th period.
Well, Mrs. Livingston said you could keep me in here for as long as you needed.
Okay. But who do you have 8th period?
Mr. Yang.
Mr. Yang?
For English.
Okay.
There is really no point in returning to gym class if the teacher and the students are going to sit there and think that I'm a threat.
I don't believe they think that. I asked each of those students that directly. None of them rated you as they believed you to even be beyond a low threat. And I said, do you really believe that Zelda intended to do something during the bow and arrow unit that would have put somebody in harm's way? And they said no. We just believe that she was saying those things, but that she wasn't meaning she wanted to act on doing those things.
I know 5 of the kids in there, and I know the 5 kids that I know are very, very good liars and are very good at hiding their footprints and covering up their tracks. I do my own detective work.
Okay.
In my own time. I was watching those 5 students. The 6th one in there is Scotty, not including me and Ayla, which would be from 6 to 7, then to 8, so then there would technically actually be 8. But without me and Ayla there, then it would be 6. But I know 5 of them in there, and all 5 of them are liars, really good liars, and are really good at covering up their tracks and keeping themselves hidden. And the other person I know in there is Scotty. But Scotty doesn't hide his tracks very well enough. He is a good liar, but he doesn't hide his tracks well enough, and he doesn't cover them up good enough. So he's kind of an easy book to dig into.
Mm-hmm.
Just like with the other 5 students, they're easy books to dig into, but they have locks that you have to unlock. But they only give the magical lock key to certain people. So you have to pick lock the lock in order to dive deeper into the book to find out more about them. But I know those 5 students. I know them well enough.
Well, as you knew, because I told you, it was just like every time, Zelda. I mean, I just tell you the absolute truth and give you a chance to listen to it. And I told you the absolute truth in that I had created a list of 6 students and called all of them down And after meeting with the first three, I determined that I didn't need to have the remaining three, numbers 4, 5, and 6, tell me again the very same thing that I had heard from the first three, because they had all been incredibly consistent in what they reported. And they were equally consistent in reporting that they did not believe that you posed a real threat. But that doesn't mean that the words weren't said. And hearing the words can be a little bit alarming when those are heard in a class in front of others.
Even though I never said it.
Well, I've made it clear why I can't believe that. Because I believe that it is impossible that three people who didn't even know what one another had said would create the identical lie from having been in class. So the only shared thing they had going for them was they all heard what happened in class. And that's what they shared, what they had heard. Not what they all made up that happened to just identically align with one another.
Mm-hmm. Your office is still the same as I remember.
Yeah, I didn't even really get much of a chance to do.
You need more decorations.
Artwork. I know. I love it if my kids would still do more artwork, but two of my children are in high school, a lot like you. My daughter Celia is a sophomore, and my daughter Sophie is a senior, and neither of them are in art classes, so they don't do art stuff anymore. And my son Tate is in 6th grade, and he still has art a little bit, like at John Muir, but yeah, I want to update that wall a little bit. I guess I could probably update it with photos, maybe. I could just do all pictures, but
I mean, if you have old calendars, some old calendars have pictures. You could just like put the little blue tack stuff on the wall.
Throw those up.
Push it on there.
The months, the pictures that they feature on each month,
Mm-hmm.
each separate month. Yeah, it's not a bad idea, because they're usually really pretty pictures, like landscapes or
depending
animals
on which calendars you get.
Yeah. I should get a Peanuts one, like Charlie Brown and Snoopy and Woodstock Peanuts. I used to really like that stuff.
You know, I had to report a city bus driver yesterday.
Oh, jeez.
I didn't want to be the bad guy in that case, but I had to because he needed to learn.
How was he out of line?
Well, when me and Ayla first got on the bus, he was like extremely rude.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a knee injury, and Ayla has NF1, and standing for long periods of time puts pressure on our injuries. So we put down the seat for people with disabilities, and instead of doing what every other bus driver does, telling the kids to move more towards the back because there's plenty of room to stand in the back, he forces me and Ayla to get out of the seat. But before he does that, he aggressively hits me in the shoulder.
What?
To get my attention.
Were you like standing next to him?
We were sitting down in the seat meant for people that have injuries or disabilities. Yeah. And we sat in the seat, and then he aggressively just hit me on the shoulder and forced us to stand up. Then he put the seat back up, and then me and Ayla had to stand the whole time. So when I got off the bus, I asked the J bus driver to get their superior over to the bus so I could talk to her, and then I told her about what had happened.
Jeez.
And then I went home, and my mom called the main city bus company, and then I explained the exact same information to them. I didn't want to be the bad guy, and they said to me and my mom, regardless of what the cameras show, we will still have a talk with him because we basically have enough information.
Well, I'm very sorry to hear that, but
I'm just hoping he learned.
Yeah.
I didn't want to cost him his job if he did get fired. Don't know for sure if he got fired or not.
I hope that won't cost him his job.
Yeah, I hope it didn't cost him his job, but I just wanted to tell them.
It could be put in his personnel file as a report of a concern statement.
Could be.
Yeah, that could happen.
Could be. But I didn't want to be a bad guy in that case, but I had to. He had to learn that that's not nice to treat people that way. Yeah, my mom called. She instantly said to them, he should not be putting his hands on my kid.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that 100%.
Even though I took self-defense classes, even though my mom says anyone hits you, hit him back. Thing is, he's an adult.
Yeah.
And he was my only transport home.
Yeah.
Therefore, if I would have taken my self-defense part and I would have hit him back for hitting me,
yeah,
I wouldn't have had a transport home. Except for the X4.
But, yeah, I wouldn't have wanted you to get stuck with the walk.
But the X1 gets to the transit center a lot quicker than the X4 does.
X1 is a lot quicker?
Yeah, X1 gets to the transit center a lot quicker than X4 does. X4, the X1 comes at like 3:05 and doesn't leave till 3:10.
Okay.
And X4 doesn't come till 3:15 and doesn't leave till 3:20 or 3:25. So then it ends up getting there a little later. The actual bus, though, was having problems itself. Because every single time the bus driver opened the door, the bus would ding, like the ding it does for stop requested. And every time he closed the door, the light would turn on, but no one had requested a stop. And then when they pull the strain, it dings again.
Okay.
Even though the stop requested sign is still up. And he opens up the door and it just goes me over and over and over again. I had to listen to that the entire time, all the way to the entire transit center. I pushed past a kid just to get off the bus, so I didn't have to listen to the dinging anymore. I didn't push the kid hard. I just said, excuse me, and then pushed past him.
Okay.
I don't even think they were from this school.
Oh, really? So, like, you think they were a middle schooler?
Don't know. They
Or
could have
a
been.
grown adult?
They weren't an adult. They
Okay.
had a backpack. So
Oh, okay.
probably either from West or Horseman or heck, I've seen some elementary schoolers that ride the bus.
Okay.
I don't see a lot of them. Just see one or two here and there. Why is he outside playing with snowballs?
All right. Let me see here. Okay, Zelda, this is how I'm writing a message on that Google Doc that I'm sharing with you. I'm sharing it with you, with Mom, with me, and with Lou Livingston. And it says, hi everyone. The Google Doc shares the writing assignments for Zelda. It's expected that she will finish them before Tuesday's PE class. I'm thinking that if I said before Monday's 7th period class, that might be a little bit too quick. So I'm saying that...
Because I'm very, very busy during the weekend at my
Okay.
dad's house, and I don't really have time for
Okay.
some stuff.
Okay, then I assure you it could wait until Monday, and you'd still be done with it for Tuesday, before Tuesday's class. And then I said she will be participating in alternative activities and assignments during the archery unit. And now I'm going to just click send, and now everybody will have that. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, I don't want to do that quite yet. All right. So you can look at that whenever it makes sense for you to get to it. I look forward to continuing to work with you. Okay? And I want you to just simply take care of your business and be sure that nothing is said